Good morning, folks. This is your peachy election update for the 14th from your ticker guy. Well, you know that things are getting bad in the country in general from a political perspective, not necessarily from any other perspective, but from a political perspective. When you have political operatives for a major candidate on one side or the other running around talking about gulags and re-education camps, and those being quote unquote necessary and even a good thing for people on the other side. And this is not a line worker either. There's a crazy in every bunch, okay? I almost hate to go here with this, but I think I ought to talk about it. The reason I hate to go here is because maybe it is just a crazy. But if it is, given the position in question, and this, by the way, this is out of Project Veritas. You can go look it up if you want to see what I'm talking about exactly. So Bernie Sanders, campaign worker, who is essentially praising Antifa and, for all intents and purposes, threatening to turn Milwaukee into a war zone. Milwaukee, for those of you who are unaware, is where the Dems are going to have their convention this year. So, Sanders was robbed of the nomination by Hillary last time around. And Sanders supporters have every right to be extraordinarily pissed off, maybe even to the point of violence. But then again, there's even question there. This is one of the things that I've brought up. I don't know how many times I've talked about this. Dozens. But you are not guaranteed a fair contest in a presidential primary. It's called a presidential preference primary. This sort of bullshit is, in fact, the same sort of crap that AOC is screaming about, in that the Democratic Party is trying to say that she owes dues to the DNCC, which is going to use them as the commission wishes. Well, that's not how AOC wants to see candidates promoted. Specifically, the DNCC has made a statement that anybody that tries to primary an existing Democrat, any organization that works with that particular party member, is going to be blackballed. So let's say that I lived in a Democrat district. I don't, but let's say I did. And I was a Democrat, and I decided I wanted to run for that person's House seat because I think that person's a shit. And they shouldn't have their seat, and I think I'd be a better candidate. And oh, by the way, I'm a Democrat. Well, if I go ahead and mount a primary challenge to that person, then the DNCC will find all of the organizations that I used in order to mount that challenge, which is very easy to do because the FEC requires you to disclose everybody you pay. So they'll know immediately who it is, and they're going to blackball every single one of those entities. That's legal, but I can see where somebody that doesn't think that you shouldn't be able to primary somebody will be a little upset about that. So anyway, this is the same sort of thing, except it's even more explicit in that there appears to be a threat of violence. If this particular individual anyway doesn't get what he wants, which is Bernie Sanders winning, of course, the nomination. Now, of course, you can't do anything about the general election. And you have to. Most of these Project Veritas videos, when they first come out, they're recorded in a bar. The guy's probably had a few beers in him. There's a lot of shit that's talked in a bar. Okay, and it's very difficult to know many times whether or not somebody's just talking out their ass, or whether or not they're really, they're really at it. But I'll say this. If you said it, you said it. And it's kind of hard to argue with videotape. So, it's kind of the way it works. I mean, these guys are really good. And well, I don't know. Maybe really good is being too kind. It's not exactly very hard these days to walk around with a video and audio recording device on your person that is extraordinarily tiny. And, if you got a cap on, you could have the camera in there with a little pinhole or whatever. It's really not difficult to do anymore at all. So there used to be a fair bit of skill associated with doing this kind of thing. There really isn't now. But it does say something, though, about the political climate that we have going into the 2020 elections. And frankly, if I was in in or around the Milwaukee area, I think I'd get the hell out of there when the convention is coming in. I certainly wouldn't want to be anywhere near that town. The idea that they might try to light it on fire is not is not beyond the realm of reason. So, all right, couple other things. You still got these clown faces running around talking about everything except the stuff that really matters, and I find it especially annoying with regards to people like Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and everybody else. And just this morning, we had, earnings are starting, so, we're getting the interviews on CNBS and all the different CEOs coming on and, da-da-da. And one of the guys that was on this morning was a health insurance CEO. And he was talking about how, we have to do things to make healthcare more affordable and available to Americans. Why doesn't someone... Well, I know why, because the market would crash. CMBS their entire reason for survival is to pump the market. But it never ceases to amaze me that they never get asked. Okay, so you're an insurance company, you have a regulated margin. Yes. So how do you grow your company? Well, isn't it true that the only way you can grow your company is either have more people, which means population's increasing, but that doesn't go up all that fast. 1% a year thereabouts. Or the amount of money that passes through you has to go up, not down. There's basic arithmetic here, and then you nail the guy with that. You say you say to him, straight up, how is it that you can tell me that you want to see healthcare prices go down and people be more able to afford healthcare when in fact that is directly against the the growth of your company and your balance sheet and your stock price? Oh no, you're never going to hear anybody say anything like that. But that's where it is. So the other interesting thing on the Democrat side is that Bloomberg is hiring people like crazy and doing a very unconventional sort of run. But we'll see whether he gets anywhere with this. Frankly, I don't see how the Democrat Party and the people that are Democrat voters, how they could vote for a guy like him. I don't see it. And here's the problem, is that you've got a decent number of so-called mainstream Democrats that probably would vote for him because they don't like Trump and they don't think him being a billionaire is a big deal. And he's a well-dressed man and, okay, there's all kinds of, but then you have all the other side. Okay, first one is, for anybody that is so-called woke, the guy has a history of repeated allegations of sexual abuse. Not assault, but very abusive behavior at his company. All right, and they're going to tattoo him with that. Okay, the second problem you have is that the entire crazy side of the Democrat Party, which is a lot bigger than you think, it's probably 20-25%, maybe more, would not vote for that guy if he was Beelzebub. They'd rather vote for Beelzebub. Okay, literally, they'd rather vote for the devil than Bloomberg. So the problem I have here is that if he gets the nomination, I don't know. This is kind of interesting. What do you do if the result is 25% of your voters just stay home? Okay, well, Trump wins, right? That's... So I'm trying to figure out how this guy thinks he has a path to success, other than the fact that he's got a lot of money and he thinks he can con people because he's always been rich and he's always been able to bribe his way into things. Well, Trump didn't do that. Trump appealed to base instincts. Bloomberg's not even making an attempt at that, and frankly, I don't think he'd get away with it if he did. But the idea that, well, I have a lot of money so I can buy a lot of ads. Well, yeah, he's showing up in the polls, and it's in... this is interesting, but we'll see what happens. Finally, since this is a Peachy update, always do Peachies, they're going to actually send the articles, it looks like, either today or tomorrow. The roll call vote to send them is going to be taken on the floor of the House. It'll pass. And so now the game's up. And, of course, as is usual in politics, the Democrats are claiming that they've got some sandbag material that they're going to try to bring out and ram through witnesses. So, hey, go right ahead, man. I really want to see this because, you know what? They're not going to. It's crazy. They're not going to get 67 votes. Folks, this entire impeachment thing is not about removing Trump from office. It is about trying to damage him in the election. That's all it is. That's why the timing is the way it is. That's why they're trying to put this thing together in such a way that they get it done before the primaries really get going, because the senators who are running for president on the Democrat side have to go out and campaign. Okay, they can't be sitting in the Senate trying an impeachment trial. And so, this is all part of the political game, which is, if you think about it, it's really sad, because impeachment was not supposed to be used for that. But for what is arguably the first time in history, that's exactly what we have. So I'm your ticker guy, and I'll see you soon.